Namaste everyone and welcome to India Speaks Daily. Today we have a very passionate filmmaker who is also an entrepreneur. We have Trivikram G. Trivikram Ji makes meaningful stories, right? So he tells meaningful stories through his movie telling. So earlier he was creating short films. Now he is full-fledged into production. He is writing, he is directing, and he is generating these projects from a very Indic point of view, from Indianness point of view. So he is truly bringing the Indian culture, Indian philosophy, Indian Dharma to the global audience. He lives in the West, and by education, he's an IT consultant. By profession, also he's an IT consultant. But now he is for a couple of years, he is into filmmaking. I'm not revealing much, right? So I will let him introduce himself. So please welcome Trivikram Ji.
Yeah, namaste everyone. Thank you, Kamalji, for this wonderful opportunity to interact with you and the India Speaks Daily audience. I'm truly excited to talk to people, the audience, the kind of audience you have, because I think the kind of films I do will probably resonate the best with the audience of India Speaks Daily, because they're very dharmic in nature and they probably look that kind of content. Just that these films are not very popular and they're not introduced, but the day they find these movies, I am sure they will love them. So, like I said, I'm a IT consultant by profession. I live in US, but I've been into filmmaking from last uh, like 15 years now. But I have gradually moved from short films to feature films. I made two Telugu short films. I'm primarily from Telugu state, so I then made a Telugu feature film in 2015, which is named Karam Dosa. And then after pandemic, I thought it's not very uh, feasible for me to go to India and execute the project, so I started exploring movies here in US, especially in English. So Chiquita, the film that we are going to discuss today, is my first major production in US. And like you mentioned, it's a cross-cultural film, and we can discuss in detail about it. But it tries to blend the West and East seamlessly. Yeah, that's pretty much about me.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much for this, brief introduction about yourself and the movie, Trivikramji. Sir, you are, because this is the first time you are coming to this India Speaks Daily platform. I want the audience to, learn about you. You are probably from Andhra Pradesh, right? Telugu speaking
Yes,
Andhra Pradesh,
yes,
or
Andhra Pradesh.
is it now in Telangana?
No, it's Andhra Pradesh. Yeah, no.
Andhra
Yeah.
Pradesh only. And by education, you are a IT guy. You
Yeah,
are a
I went
software
to,
guy.
yeah, I did the B.Tech. That too
So
also
how
that
did this,
also.
I just wanted, I just want, probably the audience will be interested in this thing, that how this transition happened from an IT professional to a filmmaker, what all did you go through, and why are you making the kind of films that you are making?
The last one is a very good question. I like it. So I'll start. I'll keep it brief. Um, my association with arts and whether it is stage or writing stories or memes, all these things, they all started with very early in my life. So my teachers encouraged. I was singing, I was dancing, I was doing all sorts of things, and I was very excited about these things. I was as excited as my classes, I mean the other classes. So I made best of these opportunities whenever they came to me. But after a point when I went into the engineering, and then the IT job happened and I got busy. But then again, when I had some resources at disposal, like the time and money, I felt like this filmmaking is my natural extension. It's a natural extension to what I have been already doing. And it gives me immense pleasure. I always wanted to communicate with the rest of the world in a very effective way, and there is nothing better than films to do that. And always had this creative urge, so I thought it's a great way to um, become a filmmaker. So when I was in Chennai, I was working in Chennai, so I attended a workshop in IIT Madras, and I had a bunch of friends from there, and we traveled. We have been traveling from last 15 years. We're a great team. So I started. We have completely self-learned this filmmaking. Like I mentioned, I made a couple of short films. Then I thought, yeah, and the biggest advantage we had when we got started is YouTube was just picking up, and the short films were the trend back then. and technology was democratizing. I'm a big fan of democratizing effects this technology brings. Like, I thought I had 2 lakh rupees back then, and I thought I can buy the camera all by myself and I can shoot a complete feature film in 1 lakh rupees. But that didn't happen. But the kind of excitement we had back then, it was purely because the digital cameras were coming in and people were buying short films, and there were a lot of exciting things happening in the film space. So that's how I got into this. But then I wanted to make it to the big stream, I mean, like the mainstream films. That's not a easy thing. I haven't figured it out yet. Even though I made a Telugu feature film, I couldn't generate enough I mean, I couldn't create enough interest in the audience to come to the theaters and watch it. So I didn't make money on that. So whenever I go to people and say I want to say authentic stories, indic stories, all these things, people will think this guy is not going to make money. This guy is going to do something like a documentary, all that. So I find it really difficult to explain to people, no, I want to make money. I want to make commercial movies and be in the mainstream films. So Chiquita is one such attempt, where I tried blending this art and the real commercial value of the film reasonably well. But I still have a lot to go in this space and make some real money and real movies that appeal to wider audiences.
Sure, sure, sure. So, audience, Chiquita is the name of the movie
Yes.
that Trivikram Ji is talking about. It's a cross-cultural film, and I have watched that film. Thank you so much for showing it to me,
Our
and
pleasure.
I was amazed. The movie is shot in Texas, US, probably,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, you know, it's not that it's shot in so many places. It's probably shot in a small area, but the kind of script that this movie has is very, very engaging. And my son was watching, as I told you that my son, he's 10 years old, and he was watching with me, and
Mhm.
he didn't he was so engaged in the movie. So
That's
it
very
normally doesn't happen that such a small child is engaged in a movie which is a genuine storytelling, which is probably someone will put it in a non-commercial bracket, someone will put it in it is definitely not a documentary.
yeah.
It's a commercial film, but the story was intertwined with the Hindu Dharma, cultural philosophies, evangelical nature of the West, all those things. Uh, so how does this idea came? Because this is a very new genre, if I can call.
Yeah.
There are few movies, especially coming from Telugu, South Indian filmmakers, like Kantara is one, right? So Kantara is also a similar kind of movie, which has a commercial value, which has a fictional script, but which has a very strong cultural tone to it.
Exactly.
And if pardon me if I'm doing it wrong, but if I have to put your movie in some bracket, which I should not be doing, but I'll put it in the similar bracket,
Sure. Sure.
right?
That's an honor. Yeah.
So you want to talk about it, that how the idea came to your mind, that how did you fictionalize these things, because this requires a very interweaving kind of nature, that you are interweaving a lot of things.
Yeah.
It is not a simple leave your brain outside and go to the theater type of movie. It's a
Yeah.
very impactful, very powerful movie with a message.
Yeah. Thank you so much for all those kind words. As part of the previous question, also, I forgot to mention that the kind of films that I make today are because of the kind of inclinations I had in my life. Very early in my life, I was very drawn to these Indic ideas and the Indic philosophies. Though I'm not an expert in the subject, I find them very fascinating. I'm proud of all those things, and some of the cultural and social issues were bothering me, and I've been speaking vocally about them on the social media. But like you mentioned, Chiquita, if you see the entire movie of Chiquita, uh, I've never gone overboard with anything. I try to give the respect that the art deserves, because we all have so many ideas and so many things that we want to tell in one film. But unless the art of filmmaking, the art is much bigger than the messages that we want to say. When the art in the film is great, you will watch a indic film, a non-indic film, a horror movie, a thriller movie, doesn't matter what it is, you will respect it because it engages you so well. We have to use all the 24 crafts well. I'm learning it, but I tried my best to do that with Chiquita. um, it's like I said, it's still a learning process. So coming back to what inspired me to do these kind of stories, Um, I personally think that uh, in general, I would say when I see something in the society, when I meet someone, when I'm in a particular situation, that particular thing inspires me to write about something and make a film out of it. But because India Speaks Daily has audience who can understand a little bit more about Dharma, I would like to mention it here that when the great mathematician Ramanujam, he says that all these formulae that I'm writing are given to me by Devi, it might seem like a not very palpable idea for us, but I think that's the experience of all of us. Like all of us have that one moment where we don't know where this idea is coming from. I'll give some specific examples like how it happens in my case. Especially with Chiquita, the entire film evolved from a single uh, frame. Like if you have seen the film, the the scene where this biker encounters the mysterious little girl, that thing flashed in my mind, and the entire story evolved from there. So it was a similar experience happened to me in the past. I did a short film called Manasu in Telugu. I wasn't planning to write anything, but I was going to my office and I then saw an old man praying in front of a Ganesha temple on the roadside. And by the time I was in office, I wrote the story. I don't know why that that particular vision of that old man really made that impact on me. So it feels like someone is telling you the story and you're writing it. That's how organically these stories happen. So I think that great power of is within us. We might be calling it Saraswati Devi, we might be calling it Ganesha, we might be calling it Vishnu, Shiva, whatever, some higher dimension. But when we really look into ourselves, I think there are a lot of stories for each one of us to tell. So that's how Chiquita happened too. Yeah,
Great. So if I can, briefly introduce the movie without revealing too much,
yeah,
the movie is about a 60-year-old biker who was going through a rough patch in his life,
yeah,
and he was going through kind of rough patch uh, in his personal life,
yeah,
and he was driving the bike and he met he had an accident, he fell, and then a mysterious girl came, and the kind of experience that this man has, that experience changed not just his life but his entire perspective about life.
yeah,
And this was a flashback, and then the current the current thing happens, that how he is interacting with his tenant probably, and his daughter, and all those things. So this experience is very common for Indians. Like
yeah,
I always say that for Indian child, it is very natural for Indian child to be artistic.
yeah,
Dance, art, music. It is very natural, unless the child goes to the school and the education ruins it, right? So we have a very strong inherent storytelling nature, where
yeah,
we kind of comprehend, not just comprehend, we also visualize these mystical things which
yeah.
are going beyond the one dimension of plain logic.
Right.
So I just wanted to have the context, have viewers the context of the movie that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So this question is from my son. My
Sure.
son asked this question, that uh, did you have such experience yourself? You kind of answered that. Did you have such experience yourself, or was it just imagination?
So that's it. I wish I had such experience myself. I would have been an enlightened Baba by now, but unfortunately not yet. But like I told you, when I was making Chiquita, when things happen so effortlessly, uh, I mean, there are small little things that happen here and there. I feel like someone is actually watching us and helping us do this, because filmmaking is a very like demanding job, like many other job. On top of it, we are like the first generation entrepreneurs. It's not like we are supported by someone big, we don't have any cushion to fall back. We have to do everything by yourself. So when a product like Chiquita happens, it really feels like, no, I did not do this, someone else made me do this. I'm not exaggerating things. This is our true feeling, because how much ever
Right.
you plan, things can go south, right? So no, I did not have this experience personally myself, but I know of many people. Again, I spoke to a lot of Western Hindus for various scripts. Some of them are in India, some of them are here. they all had similar experiences, and they're definitely not bluffing, for sure, because they have dedicated their life for this purpose. And again, like you mentioned, these experiences, when I tell a story like Kantara, for example, that probably looks very natural because the hero is from that area. That area, we all believe in that energy of the space and the devata, all that. But this is a Westerner having similar experiences. Like, how is it even believable? Like, why would it happen, right? So I then had to do a lot of convincing. I mean, I had to learn a lot to convince myself that this is possible, that a Westerner can have similar experience even if he had no background of what India is, what Indian philosophies are. So yeah,
Yeah. So what
that's
I
one.
really like about is that, you put things in context properly. Like,
Okay.
you gave that 11 years window,
Yeah.
so that, these things can happen. It was not a sudden transition, right? So it was not like inflection point happens very suddenly.
Right.
So in filmmaking, I don't understand it too much, but I understand it a little bit as a viewer. But I understand that, you have given that time for the main lead to go from where he was to where he is right now.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
in a story, these things, very, very small things, but as a viewer, these, you can relate with the movie then, if these
Yeah.
things happens.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for bringing that up. Because one thing I want to mention here is when some of, and I shared this film privately with many people, like when many experts like yourself, like who have the who are inclined to Dharma and who are film critics, who are strictly subject matter experts and monks and all those things. Because I shared with many monks in US who are Westerners but monks, and they loved the film, and they shared it with their groups and their audiences and personal groups. The one point I wanted to mention here is the main character, who is named Charles, the biker. He has his flaws too. Like you mentioned, people, some of the friends who watched the film, they asked, "Hey, this guy is supposed to be a very matured guy. Why is he behaving like this? Why is he getting irritated? Why is he getting agitated when someone talks about something?" But I didn't see it that way. I thought we all evolve from one stage to another. We don't go from 0 to 100. We go to 10, make some mistakes, then we'll try to go to 25 and then make some mistakes and learn to be at 25. So the character in the film also makes similar mistakes until the final scene. But at the end of the movie, he's 100%. But until
Yeah.
then, he is flawed. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, very,
So I totally relate. And another question that came to my mind was that this movie is like a journey. Right.
right, right,
I mean, it's not a road movie, even though the main protagonist is a biker. It's not a road journey, right?
correct.
But this movie is like a journey, which talks about the journey of journey of a person,
Yeah,
intellectual, social, maybe not intellectual, but spiritual journey of a person.
yeah,
It doesn't talk about the destination per se. I mean,
mm,
you leave the movie at a certain point, but
yes,
it doesn't talk about the destination. So was it a
mm,
conscious thought that you are leaving it at that point, and because you could have easily extended it by 10-15 minutes, and you could have uh,
yeah,
concluded it in a very different way, but
yeah.
you decided to stop it where you decided. So how was that?
That's a
Why
good.
did you decide that?
That's a good observation. So um, I wanted Charles. So at the end of the movie, he feels like he got the call that he was waiting for all these years. If you see, when at a point of the movie, he says that whatever experience he had in the valley that night when the bike crash happened, a similar experience happens again, but now he's a much different person. And then he has a conversation with his granddaughter, whose questions actually kind of liberate him. Like, he has no more questions. He had one small thing, like with his daughter, maybe that was holding him at the in the place he was. But the last conflict he had was with his daughter, and once that is gone, now there is nothing nothing to hold him. Now it's up to him. So he's now going and exploring. He's completely with himself. He got a call from somewhere and he's attending it. So that's how I thought the movie is complete. Like, what he does after this is he will just probably get the moksha. I don't know. but there is nothing, no drama in his life. There is no drama
Right.
that we would be
Great.
interested.
That's a very good answer. I really like it. So probably the last question from the movie, and then we will move to the filmmaking part.
Sure.
The last question from the movie is that your movie also kind of counters the evangelical nature of the West in a very strong way, in a very subtle way, but in a very strong way. It doesn't have too many scenes of that, but it has certain very subtle scenes where it is encountering the evangelical nature of the West, where people of the West are not even willingly, kind of unknowingly, it is kind of in the DNA that they try to evangelize. So
Right.
was it a conscious choice, or how why did you do that?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked this question without making any pre-assumption about that. Because so there are two aspects to what we are trying to do here. One is strictly in terms of filmmaking, right? So as a film, I wanted a conflict, and I wanted a conflict which was very relevant to the character and their circumstances. For example, when I show this film to someone in California, and they see this particular scene where there is some conflict about this, like overly being forcefully trying to push you or trying to pull you into something, they thoroughly enjoyed that part because they had that personal experience in their life. So because the character is from such background, it is completely justified to show such thing because it's truth, it's a reality. That's why we have this disclaimer at the beginning of the movie that even if you find something like offensive, just please be aware that we don't have any intention to hurt anyone, but at the same time we don't want to discount the real experiences of the people. This is the reality of the world. That's one way. And personally, like I mentioned, yeah, some of the issues like this have always bothered me. Like I believe in live and let live. Like you do what you want to do, I'll do what I want to do, and let's both be happy for each other. But again, I can't myself make the movie about that because, like I said, the movie should be an art piece that everyone should be able to connect to, and it has to be very convincing. So you have to be very careful when you are trying to put something that you believe in a story. It should completely fit in the context. Otherwise, it will like fall out and it will actually create some kind of repulsion to the audience. So I tried my best to integrate that thing well in the story.
Correct. Great. So as you are saying that this is a little unconventional movie, in its own way. So how are
Yeah.
you planning to promote it?
Yeah. So while coming to the promotion, our biggest friend has always been social media. And the other part, there are some improvements recently. One is your promotional material is everything. The moment you put your trailer poster out, people start judging your project. That's the thing which can also create some buzz and also create some business. This is applicable to every film, even if it's 100 crore film or 1,000 crore film. The moment you put the trailer out, people will start forming their own impressions about the film. So I'm very focused on creating this promotional material. For example, the poster that I created had 100%. I mean, I can say this with complete confidence that the poster that we created for the film had had great appreciation. With everyone I shared, they loved the poster. So that is half done. And next is the trailer, which is going to be out. And the other good part is with the OTTs. Previously, we had this rush of getting audience attention before the film release because they have to come to theater on day one, day two, day three. Otherwise, the film will be taken out of the theaters. But now the film is going to be on OTT and it's going to be there for months and years. So I have enough time to promote. For example, our film is ready to be launched on OTT, but I can go on with the promotions for next 6 months and then release the film and then go on with the promotion of the film for another 6 months. So time is my friend. I need to spend more time. I need to push and talk to more people like you who can help us take to wider audiences. So yeah, that's the part right now I'm in.
So viewers, Trivikramji has this website, veenavedika.com. You can go
Yeah.
to that website, veenavedika.com, and you can, read about the movie, see the poster that he's talking about. It's a very, very meticulously designed poster. Uh, it's not a simple plain thing. It's very, very neatly designed poster. All right, great. Trivikramji, all your work has been in a certain genre where, first of all, I really like in what you have written in your bio that you are telling meaningful stories. I
Yes.
have a company, and the punchline of my company is very similar. That we
Okay.
provide meaningful education.
Okay.
So I can completely relate to that. So that's why we are not teaching anything. Uh, you know, I'm going a little off track, but in computer science, you can understand that sh- the shelf life of a technology is very less, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And there are a lot of companies in computer science which are teaching frivolous things, like
Oh yeah.
something which is not very relevant. So
Hmm.
when I found this education company, I consciously decide that I will not teach anything, even if the business is coming to me. So I am saying no to a lot of business because uh, I don't believe that students should be taught those things. Like
Perfect.
I'm just giving a very, very, very random example. Like students should not be taught on how to use Microsoft Word. They should be
Correct.
probably asked to create a document in the Word, because Word is
Mhm.
a tool,
Right.
right? So they should not be learning that file menu has this, and these things are something which students should discover on their own, right?
Right.
So I can completely relate to the meaningful storytelling line of yours in your bio. I really like that.
Thank you.
My next question will be that probably I am not sure about it, but I'm not sure how much venture capitalist funding or any investor in your kind of filmmaking is there. But I believe that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that money may be a challenge in creating these kind of projects. So how
Yeah.
are you, going forward? How are you trying to handle that? Are you trying to bring some investors, some studios, right? Or will you stick to the same genre?
Okay. So the money part, like I
How do
mentioned,
you see
it's
the future for yourself as a filmmaker?
sure. So the money part is very challenging. Like I mentioned, it's very difficult to make money in the films. Having said that, I mean, this is a common thing that you hear everywhere in the industry that there is no money. 99, like 98% of the films are not making money in the film industry. Only the top players are making money, which is very true. But if you take a step back and think, that's the case with many industries. For example, I see every film as a startup. I say startup because it has the potential to make 100x if you do it wisely. It has great reach, great potential in all aspects, but the success rate is also less. So if you see in the startup film also, there's probably 1% chance to for your startup to become extremely successful. And coming to the investors, I mean, let's be honest. I think everyone agrees this off screen, but like you were just mentioning about your educational business, the legacy players find it difficult to experiment and innovate, and they can't just wipe out what they learned and start fresh. But people like you and people like me who are like who have a purpose in life, who want to still very who want to do something very passionately, and who can afford to do it, can actually innovate and do it very in a fresh way. If I consider every film assistant, luckily I'm in I'm in IT job. I make my, I mean, I don't have to worry about my survival. So I have some resources at disposal. And I see this great potential in the movies, in these cross-cultural films. I'm talking specifically about cross-cultural films because, see, right now, because of OTTs and all the newer trends in the filmmaking, everyone wants to grow beyond their respective industries. No one wants to stay that I want to make only Telugu film for only Telugu audience. They're at least dubbing it in all the South Indian languages and Hindi. And now they want to make the film as a pan India film. And now they also want to go to Oscars. And now they also want to show their films to Western audiences. Similarly, the Western audience are probably kind of vexed with these franchise films where the same superhero comes again and again in one form or other and tries to save the world. So I think the next big thing is to bring these worlds to watch a film which is very relatable to them, but at the same time fresh. For example, I cannot make a RRR because it's huge in the grandeur and the VFX, and it's not possible for a smaller player to do that. I mean, I'm talking, even if it's a bigger player, it's not easy to them to do that kind of films all the time. But look at the kind of films we are making. We are focusing on authentic story. We are making it for both Western audiences and Indian audiences. It has a great cultural twist which brings that freshness to the subject. For example, if I do a story of a Texan biker who has gone through this divorce and then he goes on a journey, that's not exciting. This Chiquita is exciting only because it has got this Indian cultural twist to it. Otherwise, there is nothing in that story. So this is a story that the Westerners can understand and also has something for Indian audiences. So I think this is the future. People are very curious. They want to see fresh stories. That's why I think these cross-cultural films are the future. And I'm going to see each film as a startup. And whatever it takes, if it takes 5 years, I'm fine with it. If it takes 10 years, I'm fine with it. Once we show one successful movie, all this funding will chase us. When there is money, market is not going to go away. I mean, they're going to come to us. Just like the pan-India films, the trends are changing in pan-India films because the success is around certain kind of films in India. So everyone wants to make a film like that. So I think it's not very far away when we get a lot of funding. But at this point of time, I'm completely funding it myself. I'm collaborating with many players, but nothing significant on funding yet. Maybe for next movie, I will have some.
All right, great. So I believe that a lot of startups, as you said, that most of the startups are not success, right?
Yes.
In my experience, I have seen that startups, at least a lot of startups don't fail because the idea fails. A lot of startups fail because they are not able to manage their finances properly. So they go out of budget. The kind of budget that they have, they go off budget, and then they are not able to sustain their finances till the idea reaches to the people.
Right.
So in that sense, I really like the way you have created this movie, because I believe that this is a low budget movie, but nowhere did I feel as if it is a low budget movie. Okay. You shot the movie in a small area probably, but it's very engaging. So what you the VFX part that you may have added, you are kind of strengthening the script for that.
Yes. Yes.
So if your script is engaging, as your script is very engaging, so maybe if the script is so strong, then you don't need all those VFX too much. I mean, obviously it depends from story to story. Sometimes the story has a strong demand for those kind of budget.
Right.
But yeah. So probably my last question will be, and I will suggest you, as I have suggested you offline also, that maybe you can think of crowdfunding.
Sure.
We did a conference with crowdfunding on India Speaks Daily, and the audience of India Speaks Daily has really sponsored the entire conference. I mean, people contributed 100 rupees, 200 rupees, 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, and we were not in the loss. Initially, we were thinking that we may have to put some money from our pocket, but the audience of India Speaks Daily was so generous that the entire budget of conference, they took the entire budget of conference off our shoulders.
That's so wonderful to know, and I would like to appeal to all such audience to watch the film, and that itself is a great contribution. Yeah. I get I'll get, for every 1 hour that you watch, I might get 4 rupees. So that's all I'll get, but that's a great thing. If you watch my film and leave a comment, that's a great thing for me. So I request all the India Speaks Daily audiences to do that for me when the movie is online.
Sure. So whenever it comes online, do let us know, or maybe we can have a talk again. We'll share the link with the audience, and then people can watch it. Another thing that I was asking was that filmmaking is just one vertical, right? And I'm talking about talking from the point of view of bringing the Indian philosophy to the global audience, okay. Right? So in bringing it through filmmaking is just one vertical.
Yes.
There is a whole ecosystem that it can be through conferences, through workshops, through small lectures, through very very soft kind of power that we are building for this Sanatan Dharma and Indian culture.
Yeah.
So have you thought of building the entire ecosystem, which is way beyond, and filmmaking will be, when there is an ecosystem, then all the components of the ecosystem kind of help each other, right?
Yeah, I
So your YouTube will help your books. Your books will help your website in growing. So have you thought of kind of creating this ecosystem?
I'm really not sure how you came up with this question, but I'm surprised because I also believe in this purpose. See, when without purpose, without having an end goal, what's the point? You might always get like distracted. Once you are famous, once you are rich, you might always get distracted. So I have in my personal life already decided an end goal, and which is I call it goody and buddy, which means a temple and a school. That's what I always had in my heart, because I am very, very passionate about creating a school which is a leadership school, and which is I'm associating temple with that so that it remains dharmic for the time immemorial, right? So you have a goody and buddy where you are rooted in your culture and try to create leaders. And because I'm not an expert, but there are many people in this ecosystem who are doing such job. So if we can create some institution where we can nurture young leaders, doesn't matter whether they're helping the local town or city, or leading a company, or being an expert in some subject. It doesn't matter. If we can create something like that, I think that they will take care of creating solutions for a lot of problems. And I think, yeah, I think leadership is what my prime focus is. I'm not an expert in either these things, but if I make money, if I have some impact that I could make, this is the kind of place I wanted to build. That depends. If I make 1 crore, I'll do it with 1 crore. If I make 100 crores, if I'll do it with 100 crores. That's not in my hands, but that's where I was trying to go with the ecosystem part. Just like India Speaks Daily is giving a platform to a lot of people who are dharmic in nature, I wanted to give a space for all such organizations where they can come and collaborate and do something even better.
Great, great. So this question came because we are kind of also thinking of the entire ecosystem. India
Okay.
Speaks Daily has a publishing platform because we thought that
Okay.
publisher has a control over what is going out in the market in terms of
Mhm.
books. So
Mhm.
this publishing platform, Kapot Media, came like that only. It
Wow.
doesn't, it came very organically. There
Okay.
was no planning, nothing. But we had a strong feeling that there is kind of censorship in the books. And Sandeep ji one day decided that we want to break this censorship, we want to break the ceiling. Let's have our own publishing house,
Okay.
and that's how this publishing house came into place. And in the similar way, this KGF came into place, that we want to have this educational platform, and we
Mm.
want so we have this tagline in KGF, Kurukshetra Gurukulam Foundation: Shastra, Shastra and Sangathan. So
Nice.
Shastra means that Shastra, Shastra and Sangathan.
Yeah.
So unless we don't want to radicalize the society, but we should have a
Educated
society
and
which can protect itself in
right.
all the ways, which can protect itself intellectually, which can protect itself physically, and a society which is very engaged
Connected.
society, which is close society, connected society.
Right.
All right. So Trivikramji, these are the questions from my side. Any last thing that you want to say to the audience? The floor is
Um,
yours.
yeah, I'm really thankful for you for asking all these questions, you and Sandeep ji, for giving me this opportunity to share my ideas. I'm sure we'll talk more once the film is out. But yeah, we, like I mentioned, the cross-cultural films are going to be our forte. We are going to work. Anyone who's interested in working with us, one thing I wanted to mention is filmmaking is a long process, especially we are first-time entrepreneurs, first-generation entrepreneurs. So we have to be really thinking long term. A lot of times we think of collaborations, we think of coming together, but nothing happens because um, unless we have a really, really long term goal and work together for like a decade, we won't see any meaningful results. So anyone who is interested in that way and who sees some potential in the ideas that I have just shared, please do reach out to us. It's VEENAA VEDIKA, veenavedika.com. and we'll be more than happy to talk to you and share our ideas and listen to your ideas. That's all I have, Kamalji. Thank you again. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Trivikramji. Trivikramji, thank you so much for your time. And
Sure.
thank you, viewers. Namaskar.
Namaskar.